So Koreans living longer than ever in history, which is why the nation's pension system is becoming increasingly important to many. And the Park Geun-hye administration's basic pension program took center stage in heated debates during this year's parliamentary audit.
In the run-up to last year's presidential election, President Park pledged that all senior citizens over the age of 65 would receive a monthly pension of nearly $190. But less than 1 year after taking office, the plan was scaled back due to budget restrictions.
The basic pension bill has been included in the government's budget proposal for next year and is subject to parliamentary approval. However, the opposition parties have vowed to vote it down. Arirang News Kim Young-gil joins us for more details on this very pressing issue. Good evening to you, Young-gil.
Good evening.
So the script for the basic pension payouts has now been changed. Give us a better understanding of why that happened.
Yes, Kan-young, you briefly mentioned the original plan. It called for giving a monthly basic pension of $188 to all senior citizens over the age of 65. But the new plan, which came in last month, downsizes the basic pension in accordance with an individual's subscription period to the national pension system.
It's mandatory for all working Koreans to join the national pension system so they can be better off financially in post-retirement. The government plans to make basic pension payouts in different amounts according to one's ability to pay into the national pension.
I agree on the fact that the government has decided to pay the basic pension program to the poorest 70% of senior citizens aged over 65. But it does not make sense to say that the government will pay the basic pension in accordance with the duration of their subscription to the national pension.
If a Korean citizen has subscribed to the national pension for less than 11 years, the recipient will be able to receive the full basic pension allowance of $188. But if you have paid into the national pension for more than 12 years, you will receive between $94 and $188. If you have been subscribed to the plan for more than 20 years, then your basic pension will automatically be halved to $94, as you are presumed to be better off than others. So people are less willing to pay into the national pension for more than 12 years since their basic pension will be reduced if you extend your payment period.
Okay, now Myung-gil, can you enlighten us on how much Korea spend on pension programs?
Yes, Daniel, if we compare Korea's public pension spending ratio to the nation's total GDP, the national pension is 1.1%, and the basic pension for elderly citizens is a mere 0.4%. Add up the two, and it comes to just 1.5% of the nation's total GDP. The average public pension spending ratio for OECD nations is 7.8% to the total GDP. So you can see Korea spends a lot less than the other OECD nations on public pensions. But the government says it doesn't have a specific plans to increase the amount of public spending for now.
All right, Myung-gil, so I suppose the question is, how do this country's senior citizens feel about the latest revision?
Well, Kan-young, I spoke to a couple of elderly people, and they had differing views about the new pension plan. Let's take a look.
I agree with the government's plan to provide the basic pension allowance to people who are more underprivileged, so excluding the richest 30% from the scheme is a good idea.
I think the government has scaled back the basic pension program because it costs too much money. In the future, I hope the government makes promises that are more realistic and sustainable.
So, Myung-gil, speaking of the new basic pension being more realistic and sustainable, there are some downsides to it. The concern is that the plan will create more of a burden for Korea's future generations. How valid are those concerns?
Well, it is hard to argue that they aren't very real and valid concerns. Experts say the revised basic pension will be unfavorable to future generations because the basic pension will also be paid by taking the country's annual inflation rate into consideration.
If you look into the original basic pension plan, If a worker earns 2 million won, or about $1,900 a month, then they receive a monthly basic pension of about $190, or 10% of their salary. But in the revised pension plan, the government plans to make payouts in accordance with the country's annual inflation rate. So in reality, later on, you would only receive 5 to 6% of the salary.
The government has decided to pay the basic pension according to the country's annual inflation rate because taxpayer money is used for the basic pension, unlike the national pension, which is a form of individual insurance.
Providing the elderly with more pension programs is a good social phenomenon, but considering the fact that taxpayers' money will come from future generations, I hope the new pension programs will not be an excessive burden to younger working generations like us.
Right, Myung-gil, so definitely not an issue with an easy way out. With the whole controversy over the revised basic pension plan, will the government still go ahead with a downsized basic pension?
Yes, Kan-young. In the meanwhile, the government plans to make the benefits commensurate with the subscription period of the National Pension Program, and it is slated to be launched next July if it is approved by the Parliament.
Okay, thank you for that report, Myung-gil. That was our Ji Myung-gil reporting live on Korea's controversial basic pension program.